So that just happened, and bear with me here, because at the time I'm recording this, we are literally 1 hour and 12 minutes from the moment Donald Trump finished announcing his biggest salvo yet in his administration's trade war against the world.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal.
We knew today would involve reciprocal tariffs in some way. Eye for an eye, like for like. In Trump's words,
that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that.
Except it's not quite so simple, and I will show you why. So there are two pillars to the new White House policy on tariffs. There's a universal 10% tariff, which kicks in on April 5th.
At the same time, we will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%. You notice that on the chart? And that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating.
Which would appear to apply to everybody globally, with two very specific exceptions, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And then there's a whole list of country-specific tariffs, which kick in on April 9th.
China, first row. European Union, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Japan. India, look at Switzerland, Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia. United Kingdom, 10%. South Africa, Brazil, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka.
Trump's administration has, through a series of calculations revealed to nobody in the general public, they've reduced the U.S. trading relationship with each of these countries down to just two numbers. One, based on how badly they believe those countries cheat the United States, and the other, based on how the U.S. plans to get them back.
For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, but we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us.
So that means a country like China, which Trump accuses of currency manipulation, protectionist trade barriers, and flooding worldwide markets with unfairly cheap goods. The White House has calculated that China, in a broad, combined way, charges the U.S. the equivalent of a 67% across-the-board tariff. So, in turn...
So we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%.
The European Union, which Trump accused today of being very tough traders who rip Americans off. Trump believes they effectively, in both real and perceived ways, charge the U.S. a 39% tariff. So the U.S. will start charging them a 20% tariff. And the list goes on. Trump's focus was on some of the big names you see right here. China at the top of the list, the EU right behind, and then there's Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, India, South Korea, Thailand, Switzerland. I won't read them all, but I will show them all to you, because this list happened to go on for 8 pages. I'll let you just pause whenever you want. It was just after Trump's address that his staffers started distributing some of this actual paperwork to reporters, and the White House posted the images that you see here on social media. Now, if you were to just look at all of these countries without context, I'll bet you'd have a hard time figuring out what they all have in common with each other, because they include everyone from Jamaica to Sudan, Djibouti to Libya to Singapore, Israel, St. Lucia, Australia, the Republic of Congo. But of course, the one common thread, they are all perceived trade enemies, countries with whom the Trump White House has a trade score to settle. And these tariffs cover all goods from these countries coming into the United States, making them more expensive for Americans to buy. But there are two countries notably absent from this list, and I would know because I've read it up and down about a dozen times. And that's Canada and Mexico, which feels strange because Trump has devoted most of his toughest tariff talk since his inauguration to America's two closest neighbors, to the north and south.
Our country, from an economic standpoint, a financial standpoint, and a trade standpoint, has been absolutely ripped off by almost every country in the world. Canada, Mexico. Canada has been a very nasty negotiator against the United States, took advantage of the United States for a long time.
So I say this with a huge asterisk. Canada appears to have been spared today because on top of not appearing on this hit list, the White House states, for Canada and Mexico, USMCA compliant goods will continue to see a 0% tariff. Non-USMCA compliant goods will see a 25% tariff, and non-USMCA compliant energy and potash will see a 10% tariff. What that appears to suggest is that Canada may neither be affected by any new country-specific tariff, but also largely will avoid the worst of the new universal 10% tariff the US announced today as well, because everything mentioned there is simply what is already in effect.
He has preserved a number of important elements of our relationship, the commercial relationship between Canada and the United States. But the fentanyl tariffs still remain in place, as do the tariffs for steel and aluminum.
We'll hear more about what kind of countermeasures are on the table after he meets with Cabinet, with the premiers. At some point tomorrow, he'll come out and tell Canadians what else he's going to do. So not someone who was saying this is a victory.
No, definitely not.
Someone saying there's a little something here that helps the relationship, but there's work to be done yet.
The asterisk to all of this, of course, is that all we can ever really do, even when Trump states something for the record, is to guess at whether what he says will actually prove to be true tomorrow or the day after or next week or next month, because Trump's policies are forever shifting. But the bottom line, Trump believes today was him being nice.
I call this kind reciprocal. This is not full reciprocal.
Which you can either interpret as genuine benevolence or a warning shot.
If you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your plant, your product in America. It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, you know, he was right. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.